content. So you've got your service, but how are you going to validate to people that you actually know what you're doing, and how are you going to keep promoting your service? And content is a really good way of doing that. So blog posts, videos, and promoting this on social. And when you're designing a product and when you're building out your proposition, you don't have to, and in fact you shouldn't be just doing everything for day one. It's a continuous evolution, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, what are your users interested in. And that's why it's very good to do it in this sort of, this is a very simple product discipline of managing a backlog and prioritization. So putting everything you want to do in your backlog, identifying what you're currently doing, and then a final column of this is what's done. And it's a great way to segment your work and not to get overwhelmed by the things that you're going to need to do. And again, just really focuses the mind on particular aspects of the site that you're building. So, you know, different articles which will appear to different people for this particular site. And then the other key element around building your site is the imagery. So again, plan all this up front, because this is going to have an important implication for when it comes to designing your website. So what sort of images help portray your brand? Which ones do you feel accurately reflect where you want to be seen and how you want to be positioned? And again, there's some great image banks available, which we'll refer to afterwards from Shutterstock. It's like you get for the first month, you get 10 free images. And Flat Icon, for example, is another one where there's some free offers initially. And it's really important, I think, to not to skimp on the use of images, because this is the Instagram generation. You know, was it called? I think it's thumb stoppable movements, and images are everything. They draw people in. And also look at your competitors' website. What color themes, what images do they use to project their content and their theme? And then this is a final sort of step, and it's a very important step, because digital is all about evolving. You don't build something once. But the beauty of anything digital is you can continue to change and adapt. And that's why when you first launch a website, you shouldn't look at it as, yes, job done, we can walk away. You're continuously adding new things to it and changing and seeing what's going on. And that's why when your first day of launch is what we call your minimum viable product, MVP, or minimum marketable product, which is similar sort of concepts. And the idea is, again, you have a backlog and you say, right, of that backlog, what is it I need to achieve to launch this site on day one? And that you're going to build out more functionality, more features, more contents as you go on, because you don't want to wait until everything is done before you say, now I'm ready to launch it in the market, because somebody else may have picked you to the post and your customers may have gone elsewhere. And technology is moving so quickly that there's no point waiting. Get something out there in its smallest state, so you can assess whether or not this is a successful proposition before you fully invest and grow that product out further. So it's a step-by-step way of doing it, but important not to miss your opportunities initially to get an MVP out there. And then how do you actually build your digital proposition, your digital presence? So if you're like me and you're not a website developer, you know, usually I work in fairly large organizations. I usually have a development team with me working on this, but working with these couple of startups in the last few months, we've just been using templates. And there's some really good templates out there by Wix and Squarespace, for example, a couple of £100, and you'll be able to deliver a really slick looking website with e-commerce functionality, blog functionality, etc. WordPress tends to be, if you've got more complex databases and you've got some development skills, then WordPress is probably more convenient for you. Or Shopify is a very simple template product for selling physical goods. But they all have, the key thing is they've all got easy to use templates that you can drag and drop content into. And that's what we're looking at here. So, you know, Wix, for example, has got something like some 500 templates that you can potentially use. And this is where your branding, the work that you did earlier on, comes into it. So you can think about, well, what type of look and feel is there to the site that I want to achieve, and therefore which type of template will suit my needs. And you know, it's great. You've got color themes, you've got types of building blocks for you to bring into your website.
Corinne, we've just had a question saying that I'm presuming Wix, you mentioned, charge 200 to 300 a year. Can you mention a website that is free to sell workshops?
Oh, well, there are Wix. I found actually Wix was cheaper than that, it was £120 a year. But in terms of, they are free. You can get a free version of Wix if you don't mind their advertising on it. You know, it depends if you want just, again, that minimum viable product. What's the very minimum to get out into the market to test my proposition? Then maybe you don't mind having the Wix brand on it. So they do have a free product.
I mean, Michelle, you will have to pay for something. That is part of owning a business. You know, you have to pay for the domain name, and you don't really want to have Wix or GoDaddy in the title. It doesn't really look very, very slick. So I think it's definitely worth a bit of investment.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I don't think that's a huge amount of money, especially as, you know, if you haven't got the physical costs.
Can I speak? Thank you. I already have 2 websites, and I really love and appreciate and thank you for everything you're saying. So every time I launch another website, I have to pay for the domain. And so I'm wondering if, since it would be for teaching workshops, about the idea of the domain, that's another charge. And that's where I'd love to get your advice. Secondly, when I place information, it's not copywritten. So I'm very kind of trepidatious about putting stuff on a website that can be just copied, used by anyone. So that's the kind of the other side of the marketing coin that I'm struggling with and have been for the last 7 years.
Yeah, so in terms of if you have content that you want to lock away from everybody else, Wix, for example, has a logged in area. So you could create a subscriber area, something that you can only issue to users if they have
not lock away, how to navigate without giving all the ideas away. So how to cleverly advertise without saying everything, what to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's down to your content strategy. And absolutely, you don't want to give away the crown jewels. So it becomes a marketing issue of how do you say enough about your product to entice people in without giving them everything. And that's where blog posts and other social media channels can help you promote yourself, drive people back to the website. And then you want incentives to encourage them to sign up. But certainly you shouldn't be giving everything away, but you want to be able to use all these tools really to promote what you can do, to feed back on what you've done, customer testimonials, we'll look at that in a moment. So it's like other subtle things you can use to validate your proposition. It's not just about here's all my content, it's how are people going to be sure that the content I'm going to deliver meets their needs.
I've also had a question from Jeff. Thanks, Michelle. I've also had a question from Jeff. If you have a domain with one provider, can you use Wix to set up the website? So I guess.
Yeah, the Wix one. So we've got a GoDaddy domain on that. I think it does vary about the different packages, but the domain is with GoDaddy and then Wix is the web provider. But I think it's worthwhile just looking at, you know, each of the individual packages.
Thank you.
And there's sometimes a cost. Some of them will let you use another domain, but there'll be a fee for that. But I just think for simplicity, you're better off using the domain that the web provider is saying.
Great. So, okay. Thanks, Corinne.
Okay, next. So yeah, so templates, very important. They're mobile friendly. I think the assumption is they all will be now. That's a key factor in terms of Google optimization. It will focus search results on websites which are mobile friendly. It's absolutely key. You want to look at what sort of functionality the websites have. Do they offer blogging functionality, e-commerce, lead generation, logged in, logged out areas, etc. The sort of social media interactions they offer. For example, you obviously want to promote social channels that you're active on, and you want that promoted in your website. And then you also want to make sure your package is going to offer you some analytics data, because that's key in assessing how well you're doing and what you need to change. Okay, then you want to build out, again, the upfront planning, the key pages on your site. So how you're going to drive people to what is ultimately your services and product, which is where you make your money. Everything else is really sort of padding around it to drive people to that. So when you're building your website, think about the minimum number of clicks that someone has to make in order to get to your core service or product. And you know, when you think about everything, the context around that, it's your homepage, which is your shop window. It is telling people what there is that you can do, and it's not making them work too hard, because people don't want to work very hard to find out about what you do. They want you to serve it up in a really interesting, engaging, easy to use, easy to navigate way. You want them to understand who you are. You know, what's your key USP? Why should they bother buying your product or services? And how are you going to display that on a website and across the digital world? Customer validations will help that. So any sort of comments, quotes you've got from customers are all great for that. You want to have links out to social media, or indeed any other organizations that you're affiliated with. And again, that's very important for Google for its search engine optimization, because the more it sees that you're linked to other digital sites, the more it will feel that your site is a valid site. If you exist in isolation, it won't validate you, it won't push you up your search engine rankings in the same way as if other sites refer to you and you refer to other sites. So really important to get those interlinkages going to validate to the Google search bot that you're real. Your contact details, obviously that's important so that people can get in touch with you. You've got to consider images, and you want, throughout those images and your content, you want to make sure it's an immersive, engaging experience. You want to drive people through your site to engage with the content that you're offering. And then what's absolutely key is you've got to optimize the SEO part of it, because unless somebody knows the name of your site and finds you through a direct search, you're going to be relying on organic search, and organic search is determined by Google, and it will look across your site for key terms and key features and functions and key analytics to say this is a site that is worth going to. So what I'm going to just talk you through now is I'm going to talk you through a video of the website that I built out, and just talk you through some of those features and functions that we then did on this site, which we built in 3 weeks. So I'm just going to do this. Okay. So first of all, on the homepage, you've got key branding, and you're telling clients what your proposition is all about. You're promoting your key services and giving them just a sort of taster of why they should look at other features on your site. At the bottom here, I'll just stop it as we go through, sorry. At the bottom here, we've got a series of links. So if you're on if you link on the email address, that will automatically open in an email provider. You've got LinkedIn, so you can go to their LinkedIn profile. And if you're on a mobile phone, this is the Wix functionality. You can click that icon and it will make a phone call for you. What we've also linked to at the bottom is these external organizations. So that gives that they will then open another window because you want to keep people on your site, and that will help to provide Google with that functionality and that understanding that you exist as part of an extended network. And the more traffic, if you can get an external organization to link to your site, that will be that's fantastic. If there's a really big established site, if they can link to you, then that's really strong validation. But equally, at the very beginning, if you link out to other organizations, that helps Google validate who you are and feel confident to send traffic to you. And then if we, then I'm going to take you through how we then move people through the site. So we took them to our corporate services, where again, it's a nice piece of visual functionality that Wix provides. These flippable cards, so you can use very strong images to display services, which was, if you recall, we defined those at the very beginning in our mural board, and little brief descriptions about the services to draw people through, and that's the key. You want to keep moving them through the site in a creative, imaginative way. And as I say, imagery is really key to engaging with your users. And that's where we get the branding and those other issues that we discussed at the beginning as to how you're going to convey your site and your brand. And then we've got lots of clickable hyperlinks there. So to drive people through to the page where they're then going to see the full details of your services, and you've mapped those out at the beginning. So that then comes very quick and easy process to put them on your site. Nice, clear calls to action. I don't know if you noticed that. We said, let's talk. So different calls to action are things that make somebody do something. So read me, contact me, those sorts of keywords that you can use to help drive people through and engage with your users. And, you know, be creative, look at what else you see on the web that you like, that makes you think, oh, I'm going to click into this and this is what I'm going to do. Then this is your user generation, your lead generation forms, where this is your ultimate aim. Somebody's seen what you provide and then has decided to sign up to one of your services. And Wix provides a means of capturing that data, sends you an email when somebody signs up to you, and then you can respond in a timely manner. And then just looking at other content we put on the site to provide validation of who you are, because, you know, you're a new person, they may not know who you are. You want to tell them a bit of background, you want to personalize it so they feel that they can trust you. But again, we've kept the emphasis on your services. So at all times you're driving people back to the services, letting them know you're selling something, because you can't expect them to necessarily go to the top navigation bar to work their way through your site. You've got to draw them through the site through different elements on your page. And then down the bottom here, we've got key clients that she's worked for in the past, and those are all clickable hyperlinks. So you would open those in another window, and it's all about that validation. Now, an ideal scenario would be if any of these key clients then refer to your site, and that would, Google would rank that very highly to say, oh, a big operator like Camelot is saying that you're a valid site to reference. And in fact, this particular one is referenced by Westfield Health. So that's good. Google's looking for those interactions when it scans all the websites to look at search engine optimization. And then we've got all the various companies and testimonials, which are very important. You're brand new to the market, people want to know who you are, and they're going to be looking at those testimonials. And then we're just looking at the content to help flesh out your offer, give people a good reason as to why they should trust what you're providing. And obviously in this case of nutritional advice, you know, Linda had her own view on nutrition, and you're constantly sort of promoting that and building content around it. It's not just putting your service out there and hoping for the best, it's providing your expertise to users. And also it's great again for Google that they're going to be looking at the content you're putting out there to provide a valid web experience and to attract people back. And this is where we also see that with blogs, great way to continuously promote yourself, both on your site, but then pushing that out to social. And in this case, we use LinkedIn because it's a B2B sort of product. So that was felt to be one of the best channels for her to market herself. And the more content you're putting out there, again, the more Google will recognize that you're a valid site, and that when they send guidance to you, that you're going to produce the answers that people are looking for. So it's all about that engagement and continuing to do that. Then a nice easy tool to, you know, you've built your website and now you need to promote it, so you need to market it. Google My Business is very good at this. It's a free tool, and what it enables you to do is think about, so if someone's looking for you, looking for your service, you set up a business profile, and it will then give you that ranking. So if somebody types in, for example, corporate nutritionist Northwood, you know, in my locality, then her website will come up here. And it's very important to think about what sort of search terms people use to find you. But as an initial start, the Google My Business is good because you just can get profile and visibility through maps on that one. And then other SEO, other ways in which you can use search results to promote your service. And again, this is all free. You've just got to continuously look and research and think about what keywords is someone going to enter that match the content on my site. And Google runs various algorithms to identify which sites are relevant to their users. At the end of the day, they want to send users to sites which are going to meet the user's demand. They are operating totally for the searcher. That's what they're doing. So look at what sort of terminology people would enter. And then this is quite a nice feature. At the bottom of search results, you can see other terminology people entered. So try and maybe use that on your site if you can. Pepper keywords across your site, which will match that search algorithm. But you know, keep your content up to date and fresh and alive, and use that both for promotion, but also to build out your site.
Corinne, we've had a question from Sarah saying, did you connect LinkedIn to the site?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah. So from LinkedIn, you've got in LinkedIn, you've got your ability to have a website that you can associate with it, and then you've got that two-way traffic from LinkedIn to the site, and then from the site to LinkedIn. And again, that's all really good stuff for Google. The more visitors you can drag to your site, the more Google will say, yes, this is worthwhile promoting in organic search results. Yeah.
Just so you know, we've got 10 minutes.
Yep, I think we're nearly there actually. I think, so yeah, just social media, probably don't need to talk to you too much about that, but yeah, obviously, you know, grow your market, grow your visibility of your site using social media tools, which are in many cases are free. LinkedIn, for example, Facebook groups, Instagram, Nextdoor, etc. Great for you know, telling people what you do and keeping it fresh. Then the final thing to do really is about, you know, assess and adapt if necessary. So again, a free Google product is Google Analytics, where you can look at the number of users to your site, how many pages they're looking at. That's key to understanding how you're driving traffic through the site. Are people new? Do they return? Depending on your product and service. Return users could be more important to you than new visitors. You know, you want to continue to cross-sell and upsell to them. Bounce rate is also important to understand. Are people just looking at one page on your site and then leaving? Google will downgrade you if you have a very high bounce rate, because it means your content isn't of interest to users when they come to your site. Pages, this is another key piece of data that you can get from Google Analytics. So where are your customers landing and what are they looking at? This wasn't actually for the nutritionist site, this was the medical one that I'd built as well. So this slash is your homepage. So are people getting all the content they need from your homepage and then contacting you? Where else are they looking on your site? And build out your content accordingly when you realize what they're interested in. Briefly, this is also of interest. Where are your users coming from? What's your most successful channel of communication? Direct is when they type in your actual website themselves, so they have to know who you are, know your name. Organic search is when SEO is absolutely key. For I type in nutritionist and I see your website listed on the first page. Referral is when it's coming from another site, or social through a social media channel. So key to look at really where your traffic's coming from and how successful your campaigns have been. And that's it really. And then just a quick summary of the tools that we used. Most of this was free actually, except for the website builder packages and the domain name. So Mural, the brainstorming tool, Images and Shutterstock and Flat Icon, free promotion, free analytics. And that's it, thank you.
Great, thanks Corinne. We've had a question, from Jackie Turner, how do you find out your keywords?
So think about it from your user's perspective. What is your user entering to find your site? What would you enter to find your site, to find content? And look on the bottom of the page from the search results, you'll see key other terminology that users search for. But think all different ways, you know, think of the different, you know, just blue sky thinking, what type of terms will people use to find me, and try and reflect that in the content and the wording on your website. But don't be really deliberate about it, because Google will, if you just put all across your website corporate nutrition, Google will see through that. You know, be subtle. It's the algorithm that they use to search and crawl websites is very subtle and changes all the time. So you've got to change and adapt and review all the time. It's not a do it and walk away. This year, look at trends as well. You can go into, Google has a tool, I can't remember the name of it now, where you can type in keywords and see what are the keywords trending at that time and see if they're appropriate to your product.
I think it's also worth probably asking, you know, your potential target audience, is it, or just friends, you know, what would you search? You know, what would you search if you were to look for this? Just getting people to ask about that. Yeah. We've had a question from, so David has said keyword planner. Yeah. And then we've had a question from Rivka. Can I ask about including others or connecting others to your site? Would that include plugging in your social media feeds to show on your?
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good stuff. It all shows it's up to date, it's fresh, it's engaging. You're listening to the market. It shows all the different activities you have, and that's why it's so much more than just a website. That's your starting point. Then it's everything, how you promote yourself, how you channel yourself, And, you know, everything's about community engagement now. So the more discussion you've got going and the more you know, things that you're addressing and talking about, the better it will be.
Great. Any other questions, anybody? Got will that help Rivka again, will that help in terms of Google recognizing it?
Yeah, it's another way of drawing people. The more people that you're drawing to your site, the better. Yeah. So the more validation, the less isolated you are, the better that will rank. Yeah.
Great. We've got Emma's just coming in. I don't, because we could do with a photo. We're actually both at the office today. But before we just try and get some photos taken, has anybody else got any other questions? Oh, Michelle has. Yes. Hi, Michelle. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Hello again. Thank you. It's a wonderful session. I just want to ask you, if I Google my name, I come up as #1. Is that because my own computer's remembering me? Or...
No, it's because you're doing a direct search. So you're assuming that everybody knows your name to find your product, which beyond your immediate circle who know you is highly unlikely.
So when I look up my name, I have an international profile. So what happens is it comes up in different searches. So I'm wondering how that is and why that is, or if it's my computer remembering. So I'm not a startup. I just don't know how it works.
It looks across, so it dynamically looks across the websites that it's already previously trawled, and this is why it takes sometimes some time to move up the rankings, the Google rankings, but it will have indexed your site and your name in its vast database of all the sites that it's looked at over, you know, the last few years, and therefore anywhere where your name appears, and it will prioritize ones where your name appears. If you'll type in Michelle Charles, it will prioritize the ones which say Michelle Charles next to each other as the top ranking, and maybe the number of times your name is mentioned in a site. And then it will find lower down, it will show sites which say Michelle within 5 words of Charles, etc. So it will look across its vast database of sites which have referenced you to put the search results on that first page. But that's relying on people knowing your name. And again, obviously without knowing how well known you are in the business, I don't know how frequent it will be that someone would know your name to find your product. So if that's not the case, and even if it is, you still want to promote all the various other keywords that people will be thinking about you. And you can, of course, buy words as well. You can, buy advertising words, but those are the ad words that you see at the very top of the listings page on your first page of your search results, which is actually
I think what you're talking about is the structure. So what I can hear you saying is you've got the interfaces, you describe the shop front, then you talk about the structure going internally and then getting to the product, as it were. And I appreciate that because I have several hats I wear. So you've given so much great information. It's a lot to take in. Thank you.
Oh, glad to hear it.
Oh, and we've had another question from Rivka. Can you remind us, please, Google Trends? And you mentioned another one for keywords. Is that some keyword planner?
It's, keyword, yes, I think. And also, so you see it. Yeah, these searches you look at. So when you type into something into the search query box, at the bottom of the page, you see other searches related to that query, i.e. nutritionist near me or whatever else you've typed in. That comes up at the bottom of your results page. So think about those wordings, and you run it loads of different times, lots of different angles, and you'll see all the keywords, and then think about how you can use those in your content to drive people to boost your profile up Google search rankings, the organic search results, rather than the paid for results, which are at the top, because you won't ever get above those because they're going to be prioritized.
Great, thank you. Any other final questions from anybody? Well, if there isn't, I just want to say a huge thank you to Corinne. Really brilliant session. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Again, if anybody wants anything, please email me at joanna@theworkavenue.org.uk, and you can get in touch with Corinne on LinkedIn, which is great. Please do stay on or come back at in kind of 15 minutes for our final keynote speaker, Josh Kettle of Shaketastic, who's got a really, really interesting story of how he's kind of adapted his business during lockdown. So that's going to start at 1:45. So please do come back for that finale. And thank you very, very much, Corinne. We really appreciate your time and effort and expertise. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Corinne, can you just stay on for a second?
Yeah, sure. I'll just stop share. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. See you soon. Do you have anybody at home to be able to take a picture of you?
I have, yeah. I'll see if she's working. Let me see.
Or if it isn't, don't worry. It's not an easy scenario.
Yeah.
Emma, in fact, just had to kind of take a picture of me, kind of with you in the background whilst this was all going on, and you know, the whole thing for trying to get people to do for the JC is not really ideal.
All right, and my daughter's going to pop down. I'm just going to open the window. I'm so hot. 2 secs.
Okay, it's boiling, isn't it?
It's boiling. I didn't want to open it when we were on the call in case birds flew around.
Right.
We need your help. This is Joanna. Right, my daughter's here. So
can you put your screen on high? Can you do a share? Oh gosh, hold on 1 minute.
share my screen.